In this episode of Film Stock Reviews, I'm reviewing episode 3 of Tokyo Vice, titled Read the Air. Now, in this episode, we're introduced to a new character. He has all these tattoos, and you know he's in the Yakuza. He's getting his examination done, his yearly examination. He has like a mark on his eye. All of a sudden, he comes out, sits down, and talks with another superior, for that matter, or someone relaying messages to him. We find out that this guy is Tozawa, the leader of another Yakuza gang that infiltrated the bar that was the turf of another Yakuza gang. So it's really interesting to see Tozawa now, and it's really good because we're getting introduced to this new Yakuza guy. And, you know, it's really crazy because you don't know who's who, what's what, who's the more powerful Yakuza, you know, the mob boss, what's happening, what's going on. And they all have these underbosses, you know, their brothers and whatever it is. It's really crazy for sure. So while that's going on, we find Jake in the countryside. We don't know what's happening. And he goes to a home. And we find out it's the home of Detective Katagiri. He brings, you know, beer and certain things for the little kids. And he's very humble. He's appreciative. And, you know, basically, Detective Katagiri figures out, like, okay, you're really here for this one matter, you know. And being honest, Jake tells him, I don't know what I'm doing. I'm new at what I'm doing, and I need all the help I can get. So Detective Katagiri, if you didn't know, is played by Ken Watanabe, and basically says, like, you're an honest man. I like that, you know. And you can see the bond forming, but not too closely, which is good because Jake is still naive at times and not as much. He just wants a story. And I feel like he's using the detective, but then yet, who knows, the detective could be using Jake as well. So Jake goes back to the newspaper agency and gets a call, you know, and just like, okay, what's happening? And the guy on the other end is like, I didn't get my newspaper. All of a sudden he gets another phone call, and it's Detective Katagiri who tells him, come at this address, you know, we're going somewhere. So we find out that all of a sudden Detective Katagiri and his own team of police, his so-called SWAT, and basically they go to this building and they show a warrant. They go in, and it's the Tozawa Yakuza gang basically trying to arrest the person who's wielding a knife at this bar at the end of episode 2. Not only that, the interesting factor is that basically we find out over the course of the episode is that Katagiri is trying to keep the peace between the Yakuzas so no turf war or war breaks out, because, you know, innocent lives will be lost, and it'll be women, children, all that for that matter. So Katagiri is doing his best to keep things under wraps, and he does that. So basically this second in command tells Katagiri, listen, whatever Ishida is paying you, I'll double it. So Katagiri was like, excuse me, what did you say? Say that one more time. So you can tell that Ken Watanabe's character just stands up for himself. Not only that, you see Jake in the background watching everything's going on. It's like, oh shit, something's about to go down. Nothing goes down. And, you know, you can tell that the balls that this Detective Katagiri has is really interesting because he just doesn't care. He just wants to keep the peace. But you know something might happen. So after all this happens, we find that Jake and Samantha go out and, you know, get closer. They talk about certain things, and one way or another we find the true story of what Samantha's doing and what Jake is doing. And, you know, being the reporter that Jake is, he wants to find out what Samantha's doing. Basically finds out that he thinks she's a prostitute, but she's not really a prostitute. She's just working and entertaining men, but not in a stripper or prostitution way. Samantha's a really strong character, really strong character. Samantha does meet a new customer. This guy speaks English, but he's Japanese. Really handsome guy. So we don't know what his motive is yet, but we will find out what that is. So over the course of the episode, we get back to Saito, the one who has this hot temper. And then he fights one of the brothers, so forth, of the Yakuza gang, and basically just beats the shit out of him. And then his underboss, you know, his boss is telling him, yo, whoa, stop, chill out. While the head Yakuza boss is, you know, looking at him like, you've got a hot temper, this and that. But basically, he tries to get away with certain things and says, I can do something for you. I can get something better in return. He's like, what is that? And in the next scene, it cuts to Jake going to meet Detective Katagiri with a melon, one of those crisp, expensive melons in Japan, a cantaloupe, or a honeydew for that matter. And basically they go there, they talk, and Jake wants to find out more information about what's going on. And, detective's like, I can't give you that information, it's complicated, but these, the symbol that you have on this match is connected to this organization in the loan sharking business. But, they close, they open, they close, but they only, once they open their own big business, that registration number that they opened with it always stays. So he tells him to just look for that. So basically the interesting thing about this is that the next scene, Jake is leaving, and one of Katagiri's daughters, a young girl, comes out. He's like, I took this from my father's drawer. Here, please take it. Basically, it's like a sign of showing that the detective couldn't actually give Jake the files, so he made his little girl do it for him. She feels ashamed for what she's doing, but she smiles and gives it to him. He's like, hey, here you go. Thanks for the doll. And Jake's like, holy shit, okay, what did I just uncover? While that's happening, Jake being Jake, he goes out and shows his friends at the newspaper agency, whatnot, what's happening. And then while that's intercut, we see Samantha in her apartment. All of a sudden we see someone taking pictures of her from afar in another building. We find out it's this guy who she met earlier in the episode, that this new customer who speaks English and is Japanese. He's been following her. Now, I don't know who he is. Is he a detective? Is he just stalking her? Is he a PI? We don't know what's happening. And then that cuts to where Jake is at the batting cages with his newspaper agency workers, the two guys. They're just, hitting the baseball and everything. All of a sudden, this black car pulls up. These two Yakuza guys come out, and they confront Jake. He's like, come with us, what's happening? Jake doesn't know. He gets in the car, and that's it. That's the end of the episode. This episode is 57 minutes in length, and it's really interesting because this episode really picked up. I really like this episode a lot. We got more of a confrontation between what's happening with the Yakuza gangs, the turf war that's happening. Katagiri just wants the peace to protect everything and protect everyone, while Jake is trying to figure out what this loan sharking thing is. What's Samantha doing? Saito, is he like a good guy? Is he a bad guy? Is he gonna rat? Because, there's one instance where Saito's doing something and he goes to a fishing port and he sees someone, and I'm pretty sure it's his father. And the father, one of the coworkers who works with, he's like, who is that? And, the guy's like, oh, it's nobody, I don't know him. And you can see the face on Saito's just like, oh, okay, fine, and he just walks away. So Saito has this temper. I'm curious to see, and in this episode, the past few episodes 2 and 3, I want to say, he was really strong. He was really a strong character. But I feel like the strongest character in this show is Detective Katagiri, played by Ken Watanabe. Once again, still, Ansel Elgort is not convincing in this role. I feel like he's an outcast, and he's a perfect outcast because he is that gaijin that everyone calls him in this show. So it's really, really interesting. Samantha's coming into her own. Her story's just developing slowly but surely, and we're going to figure out what's happening with her character. There's a lot of characters in this show that you have to keep an eye on. Not only that, Jake's supervisor, Emmy, who is played by Rinko Kikuchi, also has a backstory underlining factor. Her husband, evidently her boyfriend, just yells in Korean and stuff, and you can tell she's stressed out. We never knew why she was stressed out, but we figured out now why she is. The episodes are getting better, the episodes are getting good. I'm curious to see where this show goes up until the end. Hopefully, certain things happen that are shocking, confusing, but you never know who's going to die, who's going to survive. It's going to be interesting to find out. So let me know in the comment section below what you thought about episode 3 of Tokyo Vice, titled Read the Air. Did you like it? Did you not like it? What did you think of it? Where do you think this show is going? And after what happened with Jake in this episode, and do you think Katagiri really wants to keep the peace? What's going to happen between the two Yakuza gangs? Will Saito actually, be one of those informants who you think he might be? What do you see happening to Samantha? I mean, it's going to be crazy for sure. Let me know in the comment section below about the questions I just asked. And be sure you tune into my episode 4 and 5 review of Tokyo Vice. And I'll see you guys in the next review video.